This is a bonus episode from my personal archive. This was recorded in 2011. We were talking about Cowboy Bebop. But the only reason this is on this feed is because of Extra Life. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting my Extra Life campaign. It supports the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. The link will be in the description. Thank you. Smelled bad on the outside. A show that was founded by a small group of creative individuals fed up with the format of regular podcasts and proposed a new work, a work that would become a genre.
No, it didn't.
Except that didn't happen at all. My name is Scott.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Lindsay.
And that's everyone tonight. You all might remember Lindsay from the Christmas episode. That also had Dylan on it. Of course, Dylan and I are actually the same person. The gasp. Also, Jeff and David, also the same guy. That's why they're never on the same show.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
That's the news to me.
Yep. I'm sorry to tell you this. You have a secret double life where you're an animation student.
Cool. Do I get paid for this?
I don't know how people get paid for secret double lives.
I meant for the animation student part. Because I could always use more money.
I mean, I guess the guy in Fight Club got all that money for for Tyler Durden's random odd jobs at night. I don't know what he did with the money.
That's what I said. If I got a double life, I'm missing some money, man.
But you'd have double the taxes.
Also true.
No, because you're still the same person. It's just you get two paychecks.
Under two different names, though.
Yeah, but you'd need to, You'd need to build, an entire set of documents and proofs of existence before you'd have to pay double taxes.
But you could still be trying to live a double life and having things like double living arrangements.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the other thing, double expenses.
Mm-hmm. And double the amount of clothes, because chances are they don't have the same style. So goodbye money.
But yes, on to pick of the week. Which stuff is cool? Anyone want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
My pick of the week is to tell you guys all about NaNo, which is NaNoWriMo, which is short for National Novel Writing Month. It's a challenge to write 50,000 words within the month of November towards a fictional novel. And as you already know from earlier, I've so far written 8,000 words today. So I think I'll be making my goal. And I think everybody else should try it.
And I think that we still might need a National Novel Reading Month. More than that.
I've always wanted to try actually writing a novel, but my spelling and grammar is so god-awful.
That's why this is such a good challenge, because part of it is to completely ignore the whole editing process. You just write the story. You don't worry about how crappy it is until after November's over.
That's the problem, because I'm sure as I'm writing, it'll be, wow, this is so cool, this is so cool. Get to the end of November, read it in December. What in God's name did I write?
That happens. But that's when then you edit it the rest of the year.
Yeah. 1 month to write it, 11 months to fix what you wrote.
Basically. Next up.
I'll go next. I think a good deal nerdier than Lindsay's pick, but a recent Spider-Man comic saga just ended, which I enjoyed, called Spider Island. Basically, the gist of it is evil bad guy person gives Spider-Man powers to the entire city of New York, and they all become Spider-Men and women. Spider-Man fights him, saves the city. It's a 5 comic book arc. Had a lot of great plot twists. It was a lot of fun to read. And considering the recent Spider-Man arcs pretty much sucked, I really enjoyed it. Hope to see more from this storytelling artist combo.
But that was actually the first time I've heard about a Spider-Man story and was actually interested in quite a while.
I was terrified. I don't like Spider-Man to start with, let alone a whole city worth of them.
See, the cool thing is they all start out with Spider-Man powers, but then they evolve into giant 6-foot tarantulas. The sad thing is, no, I'm not kidding. And then, of course,
funny.
The funny thing is, at the very end, when Spider-Man cures them all, they all get changed back to their normal human self. But of course, their clothes have all ripped off because they turned into giant spiders. So there's like thousands of naked people running through New York. You see people running down screaming, "The Avengers! We have pants, people! We have plenty of pants! Calm down! We have lots of pants!"
See, and I bet, because it's the Avengers giving up pants, they're Bruce Banner's magic pants that always hold together.
That was a joke. Hawkeye's sitting there he's buck naked talking to Misty Knight, and Misty goes, "Misty's still wearing her headband." He's like, "Well, you seem to have come out okay, except for some reason you're wearing your headband still." She goes, "Yeah, I wonder why that is." He goes, "People, we live in a world where the Hulk grows 10 times his normal size and his pants don't rip. Just deal with it."
Telling you, they're magic pants. The only reason everyone doesn't buy them is you can only get them in purple.
Stretchy pants.
And I guess my pick of the week is also superhero related, but it's a new-ish animated series, Young Justice. It's sort of Teen Titans-ish in that you have a bunch of sidekicks teaming up to fight crime and be sort of the Black Ops wing of the Justice League. It's directed by Greg Weisman of Gargoyles fame, and Nolan North plays Superboy, and he doesn't sound like Nolan North while he's doing it. It was very weird to me. Like, the voice acting's good, the animation's great, fun little stories. I like it a lot. And, I mean, any TV series that has an episode that opens with a gorilla with a minigun shooting the mayor of Gotham City just has to be awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a good scene.
I've watched parts of Young Justice. I like everything about it except the way Robin is portrayed. Robin doesn't seem all that, what's the word I'm looking for? Badass. He's a bit of a wimp. All he can do is hack things. The kid was trained by Batman, for God's sakes.
Apparently he's like 13-year-old Dick Grayson, though. Not quite as hardcore as other Robins were at the same age. Like, if they were trying to pass him off as Damian, I'd be very upset at how not hardcore he is. I also kind of dig his weird little verbal tick where he uses those... He tends to use those words that only have that you only refer to with prefixes without the prefixes. So he wonders if people can be whelmed or be just trot, as opposed to distraught.
That's fun.
It talks in tech speak.
Kid Flash is ridiculous.
I'm still thinking back on the verbal tick with saying rot instead of distraught.
Yeah, he wonders, he's like, I'm totally trot, not distraught at all.
I wonder why we don't use that.
I'm still trying to figure out how you can be whelmed.
I'm not underwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm just whelmed. I'm good.
Yeah, it'd be like just a normal, nice state of, this is pretty good.
I guess that's why we don't use that word.
I guess so, yeah. It's sort of redundant.
I suppose.
I'm whelmed. You whelmed?
I'm whelmed.
I'm whelmed.
Okay, I guess it is about time to hit the main topic, which means it's about time to blow the scene. Get everybody and the stuff together. Okay. 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
That was really lame.
It was lame in a kind of almost cool way.
No, it wasn't. It was just lame.
Yeah, I have to second that one. Just plain lame.
You can't say that without a saxophone going with you.
Normally, when I did that, someone else would be doing the bass for me.
Normally, but not now.
But not today.
No.
Yeah, this is why you need Dylan.
Now, if it was me and Dylan, I'd be doing the bass part, because that was how we worked when we were in an a cappella jazz band.
Oh, my mistake. Who's your favorite character?
I suppose we should mention that we are talking about Cowboy Bebop.
We are?
Yes.
Oh, thought we were talking about a jazz special.
Nope.
In here, I thought everybody knew the start.
No.
There goes all my jazz notes. I'm going to throw that away.
Okay. Well, at some point we'll do a battle of the bands between Charlie Parker and Miles Davis, and you can keep those notes for that.
Okay, then.
Yes, Cowboy Bebop, classic anime from 1998, Year of the Space Cowboy.
Space Cowboys are good.
Well, I just find it hard to believe that this show, Trigun and Outlaw Star, all came out in 1 year.
Yeah, I was a little bit late to the Cowboy Bebop train. So, I wasn't aware of it in 98.
Few were. I think it came to the States in 2001, and sort of when it exploded. And I think Adult Swim still makes a point of airing it every now and again.
Ooh.
Just to be like, we kind of almost like anime. We're Adult Swim. Back to Family Guy.
We are Adult Swim. Anime put us on the map. Now that we're here, Family Guy.
Well, I don't blame them. I mean, they seem to get the same ratings out of a Family Guy they've aired 12 times before than something new and anime-ish.
Well, yeah, I'll give them that. I'll give you that. They air the same damn show. More people watch that. But no accounting for taste.
Nope.
Yeah, I'll second that one. I hate Family Guy.
I don't hate Family Guy, but
I do.
Family Guy is one of those shows, you've seen it once, I really don't need to see it again. Unlike The Simpsons, where I'll watch that damn rerun all the time.
Man, I can't count how many times I've seen the Cape Fear episode of The Simpsons. It's still good.
And mine would be the Simpsons Halloween specials. I watch them often.
Well, those are always the best ones.
I know. I wish
even now that The Simpsons has kind of gotten lame, the Halloween special's still a highlight.
I wish though that they would make more than just. As far as I know, there's only the one DVD that just has 4 of the specials on it. I want them to put all the rest onto them. So I don't want the whole series. I just want the Halloween specials.
Treehouse of Horror, the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
That is what I want. Yes.
Just like the first 6 or 7 on one disc, 7 more on another.
Yep. You just make a nice box set of that, and I'm gonna buy it.
I'd be up for that.
I think it would be smart. It would be very smart of them to do that.
It would. But yes. Back to Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, we sort of derailed that one, didn't we?
We did, a little. It's okay, though.
Anyway, what's your favorite episode?
Well, I have something nice to say about every single one of these episodes. Even the ones everyone kind of forgets. I have a whole essay about why Gateway Shuffle is awesome storytelling, but everyone kind of looks at me. It's like, that's the one with the eco-terrorists, right? Yeah, I guess that one's okay.
Okay, my favorite episodes are pretty much the oddball ones. Not the ones that have any semblance on the grander story. Although there is not much of a grander story in this thing. There's hints of one, but not much of one. Probably my 3 favorite are Mushroom Samba, where they all get high on mushrooms and have weird, out of this world imitations, like the one where Spike's walking up the stairs to eternity.
Yeah.
Don't you know this is a stairway to heaven?
Right.
Stupid frog.
Why are frogs always so creepy? Always.
What are you talking about? The Hypnotoad is awesome and amazing.
All glory
to the Hypnotoad.
But creepy too. They're creepy. They're awesome, but creepy. Yeah, Mushroom Samba is my favorite episode. partially just because I think mushrooms are neat. So I think I was biased by the title when
Mushrooms
I first
are neat.
Yeah. I
Someone
photographed
put that on a billboard.
I photographed them. So I guess that's why. I don't know. I'm a bit odd. But I just loved that episode. I just laughed hysterically at Faye swimming in the toilet stall.
Swimming in the toilet, yeah.
What are you doing?
Or when Ein eats the mushrooms and he's hopping around like a friggin' spring machine gun.
I used to have that as I had a GIF of that animated and just little hopping, and I had it as a desktop background.
Yeah, with that episode though, it makes me think of Jet and his bonsai trees.
Yeah.
I remember the first time when I saw those bonsai trees when they first showed up. I don't remember which episode it was in, but I was like, oh my god, Jet is so cool. He's got bonsai.
Well, Jet's just like the quintessential old Japanese man.
With a mechanical arm.
Yeah, he listens to jazz music, old jazz records, and keeps bonsais and gripes about how these stupid kids are ruining everything.
But he puts up with all their shit, though. Well done. Well done, him. So, what were your other favorite episodes then?
I enjoyed Toys in the Attic. That's the one with the mutated rock lobster stuck in the fridge. Just because we never see exactly what it is. Spike opens the fridge just for a second, sees what that actually is. We get to see just a hint of it. And if you pause your DVD, you get to see some god-awful nightmarish thing. Slams it shut and he's like, okay, the whole damn fridge is going up airlock.
It's the only way to be sure.
It's the only way to be sure. And of course, they got that alien mutant thing that's been running around, which may or may not be the lobster, which Ed captures and eats.
I love Ed. Ed is so funny all the time. Like, even in Mushroom Samba, I love that it was sort of Ed saving the day that day.
There, when the cop pulls him over, say, hey, you've been harvesting mushrooms. Oh, these are good. You're all good.
Man, you like your shiitakes, dudes.
Yeah, you guys sure like mushrooms. And they have mushroom-themed dinners for the next 6 months.
I would be happy with that. I really would. Compared to a lot of the meals that they end up eating, I would be perfectly happy with mushrooms.
And my final favorite episode goes completely in the other direction because this is the only time an animated character has ever scared the shit out of me. Pierre LaFou.
Piero LaFou.
Holy mother of God, that was a creepy... that was just creepy as all hell. Fat little guy running around damn near indestructible. Faye crashes a friggin' spaceship into it, nothing. And then he, what finally hurts him is he hurts his foot and he gets stomped onto it by a giant mechanical duck. Even Spike's just sitting there going, what?
See, it's not like it's scarier to see him when he finally does get taken down than the whole time he's been indestructible and flying around with shotguns. Because you get this you get that whole moment of there is nothing crueler than the mind of a child. And he's just screaming like a baby. And then smush.
Well, he was creepy before. He was like, man, this guy's a badass. And then you find out, no, he's not. Well, he's kind of a badass, but not in the way I thought. He's, he thinks this is all a game, which made him even that much more scarier. And then he gets stomped on by a giant Donald Duck, and it's like, well, okay.
But going back to the silly territory, one of my favorites is of course Cowboy Funk, in which Spike duels an actual cowboy.
Oh,
like completely losing track of the guy who's the bounty who's worth, millions upon millions of oolongs, and instead must settle his grievances with this complete nutbag cowboy guy.
Yeah, that cowboy is ridiculous. I just laughed right through that episode whenever he was on scene.
Best horse in anime.
Do you know who that cowboy reminded me of a little bit? Ace Rimmer.
Oh, he was Ace Rimmer.
I know. It was totally him. I was like, oh my god.
I love the end of that episode when he converts to samurai. See you later, space samurai.
I like that it's like the Teddy Bomber finally gets his attention to explain his manifesto. And he still gets hijacked by that damn guy.
You gotta give him credit.
I think it was one of the first times that I ever really felt sorry for a bad guy. I was like, dude, you're trying so hard. And it's just not working out how you want it to, is it?
What I think I appreciate more and more about this show every time I rewatch it is how every episode manages to have its own little riffs on different genres and different movies in specific every now and again. Like, there's that episode where Jet is being chased by the Blues Brothers.
Well, Cowboy Bebop is one of those that seems a lot longer than it is. It's only 25 episodes, but it seems a lot longer because your average, your average big, anime episodes, hit you 50, 30. And it kind of feels like one of those episodes because in those big 50 or 30 or 40 episode shows, you skip a couple because they're not that good. If you watch Cowboy Bebop, you're watching episode 1 all the way to the end because there's no bad episodes. There's some that you might like a little more than others, but there's no bad ones.
No, there's not a single one I would say skip. Like, they're all definitely worth watching for something. And something of, like, and the storytelling is great because you mentioned it feeling like a 50-episode show, and in a way it is. Because it's like it started at episode 25, because every single thing, like every single character you're walking into at the middle of their story. And sometimes you get flashbacks, but most of the time it really just lets you fill in the blanks.
Yeah, that's something that I love, but also infuriated me when I was first watching it, because I love knowing the backstories of characters and just always having to wait and hope that I'll get to learn something. Oh, it kept me watching, that's for sure. If anything else hadn't, that would have.
Well, that's kind of the hook of the show. They introduce you these great characters. You enjoy watching them, and you're like, okay, why can't they remember anything? It's like, well, we'll tell you. Just keep watching. But I want to know now. But keep watching, and guess what? You keep watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's Ed's father? Where's her parents? What's her deal? We'll tell you. Like, this almost the second to last episode. But we'll tell you
eventually. Yeah. I always thought it was really neat with Ed, how Ed didn't show up as a character until I think it was like the 9th episode or something.
Like 10th even.
Yeah, Jamming with Edward, I think it's episode 9, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, Jamming with Edward.
Yeah, and it's like, I loved how it took that long for Ed to show up. But I cannot imagine, whenever I think back, I always think of Ed. I have trouble imagining how I watched those first, 8 episodes without Ed.
Hi, guys!
And someone finally joined in. Hey, David.
Hello.
Hi.
Does this mean I have to leave?
No, you don't have to leave.
Cool.
So how about those Japanese cartoons, huh? Crazy, right?
Crazy.
So, Steve, what time zone are you in? Because it's 7:30 in my time zone.
Oh, I'm in the David just got off of his first shift at work and crawled into bed with 30 minutes to go because, hey, I can totally wake up from my warm, comfortable bed with my cat snoozing on top of me. That's going to happen in 30 minutes. Yeah, it didn't happen in 30 minutes. So, I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. We were just we just got into talking about the show and bits of the storytelling and characters and things. There's not a lot of focus here.
You missed all the good parts.
Oh no!
So what parts were those that you missed then? What do you think they were?
Okay, well, the best part about Cowboy Bebop is how the old men keep showing up and they're kind of perverts.
I love those old guys.
They're so funny.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is sort of this pastiche on Western tropes and genres, and I think the old men go really far towards making it feel like sort of an old West thing, because in a lot of old westerns and stuff, there's always these really grizzled old characters who've been out on the frontier for a long time. They've seen everything. They don't know. They don't really care, and it's up to us to the hero to win them over. And the problem with the problem with Cowboy Bebop is that because every episode is kind of its own sort of encapsulated story, it's very difficult for any sort of characters to continue to affect, to stick around to give us any sort of context. So when you have the old men just kind of pop up everywhere, it gives a sense of continuity between the episodes that isn't necessarily actually there, but it sort of reinforces the feeling,
Yeah, definitely. Every time I saw those old men, I was like, what? Hello? Why are you here? Oh. And then I just feel like, oh, okay, we're back to where we were before. So that's good.
You were always sowing seeds of a different kind.
I think you might be reading that too much into the three old perverts, but whatever.
No. Like they're part in-joke and part reference, and if anything, half the setting building comes through these guys as they just yell about how they're like, I busted my hump to build that gate with my two friends. We wouldn't be living at all if it weren't for the work we done. We were those friends. Oh.
Yeah, and like our characters are doing a lot of stuff. They're running from one side of the galaxy to the other. It could start to stretch belief, especially in a context where you're you're establishing that the majority of the population winds up on a colony world, like Mars or Venus or whatever, and then they're so poor they never leave. And so when you have some characters kind of hopping around it does add a little credibility. Are they a main focus? No, not at all.
But they do get to save the day in the movie.
Undeniable, subtle effect on the rest of the storytelling. So, but anyway, going back to the good parts that I missed. All right, phase boobs.
Phase boobs.
We haven't
I
talked
have to
about
say,
those
that
yet.
was not a good part for me. That's something I didn't really pay attention to.
I enjoyed the boobs.
13-year-old adolescent David would like to have an argument with you, ma'am.
Lindsay, are you
I
more
can
of a
see
leg
how
girl?
you
Is
would
that
have
why
enjoyed
you're
that.
not fascinated with her boobs?
What were you saying, Scott?
Are you more of a leg person? Is that why you weren't looking at her boobs? Because her legs are nice too.
No, it's just that, you see, I have my own set. I really don't need to worry about hers.
That's the best argument I've ever heard.
I killed that conversation.
There's
no way for you
I'm dumbfounded by that argument.
Congratulations, you won the show. Good night, everybody.
Do I get a prize?
Yes, you win a prize. You win an
Yay.
elephant.
What?
You win an elephant.
Yay! Is it Dumbo?
No.
Oh, I wanted a flying one.
You want a giant poster of phase boobs.
I'll
Okay.
donate it to the high school.
Who had the better rack? Faye Valentine or Aisha Clan from Outlaw Star?
I think Aisha's did more bouncing.
Damn straight.
Like, there was something up with the artificial gravity on the Outlaw Star.
She was a Kataro. Kataros always do things twice, even without.
But of course, Outlaw Star had its token Hot Springs episode. We never got that with Cowboy Bebop.
That's true.
No, but you did have Faye swimming in the toilet stall.
This is true.
This is also true.
You
And
did.
of course, her handcuffed up to one of the railings is possibly one of the hottest things I've ever seen animated. Yeah. Again, speaking from a 13-year-old point of view.
Are you sure?
Hush.
13 going on 30, yeah.
What were some of your guys' favorite parts of Cowboy Bebop? What was your favorite episode?
We kind of just went through that one. So you can say yours.
Oh wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Don't ask a question you're not ready to answer.
Fair enough. All right. Well, the thing about Cowboy Bebop is that look over there. Gosh, what is my favorite episode? It's actually been kind of a long time since I've sat down and watched it.
Yeah, I was having that trouble too. I can't remember a lot of the titles specifically until we start talking. I'm like, oh, that one.
And then there's a problem because I think some of them are my favorite just for how weird they are. Like Rock Lobster.
Yeah.
Rock Lobster is an awesome half hour of television, but it's not necessarily my favorite Cowboy Bebop episode, though it's possibly the one that I watch the most.
Yeah, that's like me and Mushroom Samba. I watch that one, and whenever I just have a feeling like I want to watch Cowboy Bebop, I look up Mushroom Samba. I watch that one first every time.
I think the very best episode was possibly Cowboy Andy.
We're back to Cowboy Andy.
Dude,
Because horse was awesome.
Yeah, it has everything. It is the most Cowboy Bebop of a cowboy. Like the words both cowboy and bebop are both best sort of evidenced through that story, through those characters. Cowboy Andy is fantastic. Teddy Bauer, the Teddy Bomber, he's a great character. The completely ineffectual terrorist, like.
Well, he's actually effectual. He took out like 7 buildings.
Yeah, but nobody. Yeah, but within the context of Cowboy Andy, whenever Cowboy Andy showed up, nobody noticed him. Like, that's the best part, is that he was legitimately doing a good job of being a terrorist, but he just didn't have the same star power as Andy, and the way he just kept getting more and more frustrated was hilarious. And even better is that the entire reason why he was blowing things up, if I remember correctly, is just because nobody was paying attention to him.
Well, no one was paying attention to his manifesto.
Oh, right. And then at the end, when Cowboy Andy gives up being a cowboy and he turns into Samurai Andy, and he's like, "On Shiromaru!" Like, oh my god!
I just love that. I love that he acknowledges the pure fluke that was Spike punching a girder in frustration as a legitimate victory. It's like, that was a heck of a punch, son. Here's my hat.
That's another thing about Cowboy Bebop, that it does very well, that not necessarily anime does well, is the fact that the main characters are cool not because they're successful, but because they are kind of awful. Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, they are not necessarily the best bounty hunters. They're not even the third best bounty hunters. They can barely afford enough money to eat. And that's what makes them awesome, is because they're completely relatable as characters, because we all screw up just as much as they do. And that's part of their allure and charm. That they're sort of living a bohemian lifestyle,
Yeah, I'd always liked that about them too, that they're sort of like a group of little failures that have all had to band together over the time. It's like, it's the oddballs of the space cowboy age.
And they're all this weird, they've got this messed up family dynamic where Jet's this cranky old dad, and, Spike and Faye are feuding teenage siblings.
Ed's Ed.
Ed's just Ed.
And Ein is brilliant.
And Ein is the smartest one on the whole damn ship.
Mm-hmm.
Always said that. Ein is the most genius person on the Bebop.
Well, he did beat Jet at shogi.
He did.
Yep.
He beat Jet. He can use the phone. He can pilot the damn ship. He can hop
the one system in that one episode. I forget which one it was. But I remember being so proud of Ein. It's like, look at you go.
Yeah, the one with the crazy cyberpunk cult guy. Where it was like, we'll upload our brains to the internet.
Oh, jeepers. Brain scratch! Oh, man, that was a messed up episode. Oh, man, let's talk about Faye Valentine. What a surprisingly deep character.
Yeah,
She is well developed. And has boobs.
And we're right back there again.
But no, like for the generic TNA character, the fact that they use her as the way to tell almost all of the universe's backstory is really incredible.
Yeah, Faye, I was always really happy with Faye as a female character because, yeah, sure, okay, so they gave her, the stereotypical skimpy clothes and, the boobs, but they also gave her a really neat backstory. And I had always really liked that. I'm like, wow, there's a lot more to Faye than what we get to know at first. Like, there's reasons why she is the way that she is. And she's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, like, at first she comes off as just slutty and desperate, but then you realize that's just because that's all she has now. She has no past, no future, no friends or family. All she has is a really good body and a clever mind. So the fact that she's still alive in any regard is impressive.
One of the most emotional anime episodes I've ever seen is in this, and it has to do a lot with Faye. It's called Speak Like a Child, where
after the quest for the Betamax machine.
Right, the quest for the Beta, she's got a tape that she has to find out what's on it. It's something to do with her past. All that searching, they find the Betamax machine. She finally gets to watch the thing. It's like, here's your past. Guess what? It doesn't mean a damn thing now. It's like, that is so harsh. She's so desperate to learn something, and she learns all this. That's who I was. And now it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, now all she knows is what she's lost.
Right, that's just made it all that much worse. It's like, okay, this is who I was. It doesn't matter anymore because I'm not that person. And I can never get that person back.
So one of my favorite episodes for emotional reasons has to do with Faye. It's Hard Luck Woman. It's the episode where Faye makes it back to where her home was. And it's also the episode where Ed finds Ed's dad and Ed leaves. So Ed and I are leaving. And it's that entire episode. Like, I didn't expect when I was watching this the first time through to feel like crying. And that episode had me because I was like, what? Like, it was so emotional for Faye. And then we lose Ed and Ein.
Ooh.
It was too much for my brain. Like,
well, all right. So, what was Edward Wong Hao Pepelu Tiveruski the Fourth's dad's name?
I remember that if you translate it out of Turkish, it's "excuse me, check, please." Like, it is that's what his name is. So I'm pretty sure he also made it
That's
up.
all I remember about his name too. When we met him, I was like, that really explains who Ed is. I really understood how Ed became the way that Ed is.
Yeah, father's nuts.
Yeah, and she was obviously very neglected before she took off. Yeah, that entire episode was just so emotional for me. Like, when Faye ran into that girl that she'd known as a child, I guess, and that old woman recognized her as being Faye. Just like, oh, that's harsh. You found the last person who possibly knows you, and they are incredibly old.
Mm-hmm. And she found her home. She found everything she ever wanted. It's just been destroyed by a bunch of asteroid dropper. Technically not asteroid, space junk.
Mm-hmm.
She never winds up talking with MQ ever again, right? Oh, that's a shame. I really liked MQ as a character.
He's just a lonely space. He was just a lonely death satellite.
Well, that's the thing is that towards the end of the series, why did none of the characters say, "Hey, you know who we're friends with? An orbital death satellite."
No, because they remember they pulled his OS out of the thing. They pulled the OS out of the satellite and tried to turn it in for money, and they were like, regardless of the debates concerning the rights of artificial intelligence, bounties cannot be awarded for computers.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Speaking of, Punch and Judy were great, especially Dub Punch, where he changed accents every other word.
They were hilarious, those two.
There's another piece of really awesome universe building.
Yeah, how they got shut
within
down.
a show?
And how they were getting canceled.
Oh,
remember when I heard that they were getting canceled, I was like, what? You can't cancel them.
Yeah, the ending of Cowboy Bebop is a really kind of apocalyptic set of episodes. Between all the cults and the characters slowly getting picked off one by one, not necessarily violently, but still leaving the narrative. And just to see this incredibly, this very minor but incredibly steadfast element of the universe getting torn down before your eyes really adds to the dread. Like, oh my, like, you know how they kill, you've seen, it's been a couple years, so spoiler warning, whatever. You know how Wash gets killed in Serenity?
Yeah.
And they kill him off just to establish that anybody can die.
I was so sad when Wash died.
Oh my god, right? Well,
Like, he hit the top of his game.
See, Joss Whedon does this thing I call breaking his toys, which is where once he gets tired with a really good character, he breaks them just to show that he can. Now, see, that's not necessarily what you should do. Like with Wash. Wash is a great character. There are so many wonderful storytelling opportunities one can have with him. And killing him off, sure, there might not be more Firefly, but you're closing a door, and you should really, really make sure that when you're closing a door, it's not just that you can say, hey, look, I just killed your best friend. I can kill anybody, right? Like,
yeah, I was like that with Shepherd Book as well. I was like, what? Why is he dying? We don't know his story yet. You can't kill him. We don't know his story.
Yeah.
And we'll never know now.
We do. There was a comic.
Do we? Since when?
Since, last year?
I was in England. I'm blaming England.
Okay.
Blaming.
Is it really what Joss said was about him?
Joss got the writer credit.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
He doesn't share writer credits on the Firefly comics, unlike Buffy and Angel.
Except for, speaking of Wash, the Patton Oswalt Wash book.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, getting back to Cowboy Bebop. Although there is a lot of crossover between Bebop and Firefly, but that can come
Space
later.
Cowboy, hello.
We'll eventually do an episode on each of the Space Cowboy shows.
Nice. So,
Me.
so Bebop, Trigun,
Outlaw Star, Firefly.
Outlaw Star is possibly my favorite of all of those sort of bounty hunter trilogy. The unofficial Toonami Touchstone series. But anyway, so just getting back to Bebop. So here we have Punch and Judy. This incredibly steadfast, but kind of utterly pointless. But there's still sort of a fun comedy security blanket. And so when you axe them off, you lose no storytelling opportunities, but you really set the stakes on a base subconscious level. That was awesome. That's what I was going to say.
Well, it really was, because it was such a shock to me when they canceled this show within a show. I was like, what? No, that's supposed to always be there. Why is it leaving? So they did a really good job on that.
Oh man, Jupiter Jazz. Sorry, I'm going through the episode list.
Well, anything with Laughing Bull, man.
Oh man, well, see, I actually really like the story of that episode. Like, it gets really dark, it gets really moody. It's a good two-parter. But Gren,
Yeah.
the man who winds up being a woman.
Yeah.
That was of all the possible points at which my parents could have walked in. The one moment they walked in was during the shower scene, where we learn that he's a dude or a chick or whatever, however that works. I was just like, oh no,
no.
And
how much did your mom make fun of you for it? Because that's the only thing I can imagine your mom doing.
Oh man. Well, luckily it wasn't my mom. It was my dad. It was Chibi Dad, but he did just kind of look at me with incredible disappointment for quite a while.
Family.
Yep.
That's another good episode. Wild Horses. I like Wild Horses, where they run into those junk guild guys and they catch the swordfish with the Space Shuttle Columbia.
Oh yeah.
I am so upset that they did not air that episode for quite a while after the explosion, and I don't blame them. But that episode is such a tribute to that shuttle.
Yeah.
It's almost like they should have kept it running.
I just love the fact they launched the Space Shuttle Columbia in about 10 minutes. And a modern day shuttle launch takes 6 months to prepare. Screw it, we'll figure it out when we get up there.
Well,
launch the damn thing.
Well, that's how everyone goes on Cowboy Bebop. Is we'll figure it out when we get there. That's Spike's whole MO is. Well, I'm gonna punch it and see if that works.
No, Spike's MO is, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. There's no bridge. I'll jump across the fucking river.
No, it's called. Well, you already blew up the bridge. I guess I gotta jump.
Oh, Walter Venus was a really good story.
I was just reading that one, and I was wanting to just interject
You know what,
and say
guys?
that.
Let's just do this episode by freaking episode.
Yeah, I mean,
talked
the
about
thing is that there's such little but kind of important story, but that, you know, going episode by episode is really the only way to talk about this.
Yeah.
It changes its style so much between each episode that you kind of have to take them one by one.
Yeah, Bolts for Venus, though, I love that you were saying that, 'cause that was the one that I wanted to bring up. I love that episode. I really like seeing how the person that they were hunting, you know, he had a really good reason why he did what he did. Like, he's just trying to save his sister.
Yeah,
And like,
and like
it was,
at the end of the day, the Bebop crew aren't dicks. Like they act like it, and sometimes they can be to each other. But what's really endearing about them is that they all definitely have codes of ethics about them, and they'll be bad people, but only so far. They're criminals in the Lupin the Third sense.
Yeah.
yeah, like they.
Well,
like,
even Spike, he used to be, you know, he was an enforcer for the Triads, but he's like, you know, if you look at all these heroic bloodshed movies, he's always like the good guy Triad guy who's like standing up to the douchebag nihilist ones.
Like, you know who would play Spike Spiegel very well? And I'm not lying. Jackie Chan. Like not like modern day Jackie
like,
Chan, like 40-year-old Jackie Chan, but like a young Jackie Chan. I don't care. That he would do great. Yeah, I'm going there.
Yeah, I don't see that.
No, like think of him like back during his like Super Cop. And,
Yeah, exactly.
like Super Cop, Mr. Nice Guy Jackie Chan.
Yeah. With his incredibly clumsy kung fu and his very earnest sort of style of acting. Yeah.
All right, so
yeah, no.
if
Yeah,
we're just
don't buy
going episode by episode, Asteroid
All right.
Blues.
Kind of. Asteroid Blues is kind of the perfect Cowboy Bebop story. You know, we don't have all of our characters yet, and actually, this was an episode that wasn't shown in Japan because of all the drug dealing, and apparently that ain't cool. But having, you know, hermaphrodites from random drug testing in Soviet prison, that's okay. But anyway, no, this is a great episode.
Yeah, I really liked it for the fact that even in this episode, we see how Spike is towards the woman that's with the guy, drug dealer. Like, he doesn't really want to completely screw her over.
I
And
kind of like the way they played that girl up. The whole time you kind of feel sorry for her because she's a pregnant girl and you run around with this douche. And you find out, no,
Nope.
she's
Oh,
not.
she's carrying it.
She's the drug mule.
mhm.
And then it's like, well, I don't quite feel sorry for
like
her now.
the first, like even the opening, like I want to just walk through the first 5 minutes of Asteroid Blues for a second, because you've got Jet cooking, Spike doing kung fu, and flashing back, and he's just thinking about the church, the gunfight in the church. So you're seeing all these images. You got the roses in the puddle, and it's like, what the heck was that? And then it immediately cuts to a discussion of how you can't call it bell peppers and beef if you don't have beef. And it's like, well, we would have beef if you weren't such a fuck up, Spike.
This is Cowboy Bebop in a nutshell, guys.
Yeah, and you know, I hadn't really thought of the series thematically before, but this episode does a great job, and that opening actually might be really deep because, you know, kind of the overarching theme, the sort of thesis of Cowboy Bebop is you've got to live with what you've done. You know,
You can't keep things in the fridge.
right? Exactly. Maybe you can stall it for a while, and you can have some laughs. You can have fun, but someday what you've done is going to catch up with you, and it's all going to fall apart because of what you've done. That's what happens to the character to Asimov and sexy Latina girl
Katrina.
Katrina. Yeah. That's what happens to them. Is they get they were never not going to die. And I think even Katrina says at some point something to the effect of, "This was always going to happen." I knew it. I knew it going in. I hoped it wouldn't have happened. It would have happened later than sooner. But this is the life that we live. Yeah. And with Spike tries to run as far away from the Triads and Vicious and Julia. He tries to get away from that, but through the course of the series, he gets drawn back in until finally all the bad things that he's done that are only hinted to in the past finally catch up with him, and he's got to make a stand to determine who he really is. Phase Path finally catches up with her, and as you pointed out, it doesn't necessarily make a lick of difference, but it still weighs on her. And a lot of these the characters that we run into, even in the episodes, like the adorable kung fu dude on Venus, his past definitely catches up with him, and so even the opening, I think in Asteroid Blues, when they say, well, you can't call it bell peppers and beef if there isn't beef. You can't lie about the nature of something. Just you can't make bell peppers and beef by saying there's beef in there. You can't pretend it's something it's not.
Yeah, and I just and at one point I had an ex-girlfriend who was trying to understand my nerdish ways and wanted to watch Cowboy Bebop, and she couldn't deal with the fact that Katrina and Asimov died at the end of the first episode. I turned off the TV, took out the disc, and said, "You can't deal with this show." Because
it all goes downhill from here.
It's like, that's the least of your worries.
Right.
But okay, episode 2, in which
Straight out strut.
in which we pay homage to both two greats of popular culture, Game of Death and Scooby-Doo.
Nice.
Scooby-Doo.
Look at the chase scene. It's Scooby-Doo.
I suppose it is.
The foot chase.
You don't see him running in and out of the doors, though.
Yeah, but you've got it's two overly lanky characters just constantly running. And there's a dog. So, Scooby-Doo.
I love Ein. I love how it was so subtle that Ein was so smart throughout the rest of the series. In this episode, we get to meet Ein, and we know that Ein, is a valuable dog because he's brilliant, because they've screwed around with his heads and genetics. But throughout the rest of the series, aside from Ed, nobody else really acknowledges that Ein is fucking brilliant, and most of the time they just treat Ein like a normal dog.
Well,
even when Ein saves their butts.
Well, there's this point where he hangs up the phone, and Jet just looks at him and says, "Thanks for that." I don't think it's that they ignore that he's super smart. It's just that
they just treat him like he's normal.
They just
don't
That's
care.
how they deal.
Yeah.
He's a genius dog, so...
He still needs
Can he
food.
make us dinner? No. Who cares?
He still needs food. He still looks stupid in zero gravity.
Yeah, he still licks his butt after he poops.
Stupid in zero gravity.
As much as he's this brilliant dog, he's still a dog.
Yeah, and I love that he had that semblance of normality brought to him by being in such a weird, household, really. He got to sort of feel like a normal dog, because they acknowledge it, but not outwardly. They just accept him.
Could talk to cows, though. He spoke cow language.
He talked to a cow, too, in Mushroom Samba.
Yep.
Yo.
Okay, so now we've got Hunky Tonk Women, which introduces Faye, and gives us the amazing scene in which Jet explains that his spirit guide came to him, Charlie Parker, to quote Goethe, and that's why they're in a casino named after a Bowie album.
Nice.
I don't really remember too much of this episode right now.
All I remember is that all the imagery in the casinos is really cool. And actually, there's a lot of really cool things about Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Everything's fucking cool.
Yeah. That is the lesson of this show, is that everything So cool. Like, you touch it, and you touch the DVD, and you feel cool. Especially if you have the old DVDs like I do that look like 45s.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I remember buying those with the money I saved up when I was, before I was even in high school. Like, because that was way back when, and just saving up, buying the DVDs, and then knowing what happened in the show before the episodes came out on TV. Oh man, I felt awesome. I felt like king of anime.
You know what's going to happen in this next episode? Spike's going to die. Yeah, really.
One thing that I really like about Honky Tonk Woman is just how it establishes Faye's character. There's something really cool about seeing her in the position of a dealer and the way she's handling those cards. The idea that she's a person who makes her own luck, and that once she has control of a situation, she is cool as a cucumber. She knows exactly what to do. She's played as definitely a fuck up, just as much as any of the other regular members of the team. But compared to them, there are a lot of situations where she's the only person who actually knows how to deal. And I think that's cool.
Well, I think that comes from the fact that, going back to the Lupin the Third thing, is that she has she definitely has a lot of Fujiko moments where she's just like that half step ahead of the rest of the crew, trying to make sure it goes her way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there actually is a ton of crossover between Spike and Lupin, Jet and Jigen, and her and Fujiko.
Well, Jet also has a bit of Samurai Guy.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of Goemon.
Goemon, yeah.
Although, I'd say that the Goemon role was really Ein.
No, well, could have been Ed, because she opened the doors. It's a different form of cutting unworthy objects.
Yeah. Lupin's so cool.
I love... There's a new Lupin TV series running right now.
I want to see it so bad.
I gotta watch it.
All right. So anyway, Gateway Shuffle. Quick, Gateway Shuffle.
Which
I think.
I love this.
Didn't we talk about Gateway Shuffle earlier before you were here?
I mentioned it, but I just want to say, like, the reason I love this episode is that it gives the viewers all the little pieces of the plot. Like, you find out, like, Faye finds a guy with a suitcase, and he's dead. And then they mention that a guy got away with a suitcase full of stuff, and they don't know what happened to him. And you get all these little pieces, and no character just suddenly has the aha moment. Like, Jet doesn't stand up and say, I figured it out! But all the pieces are there, and you can put it together. Like, it doesn't underestimate the viewer at all.
Yeah, it just assumes that the crew of the Bebop are idiots.
Yeah.
They are in a way, though.
It's got this...
Yeah, they kind of are.
They kind of are.
I told you, the smartest person on the Bebop is Ein. Everybody else is a moron.
They're all smart in their own way, though. They all have their things, but yeah, Ein's the only one who's completely smart and knows how to live.
If you were in deep crap and you needed a member of the Cowboy Bebop crew to get you out of it, who would you turn to? You turn into Ein. You turn into the dog. Okay, help me out here, Ein. I need to get out of this.
And then we have episode 5, where the plot kind of happens.
There's a plot?
Yeah, as much as plot as the show has, this show packs in more plot than 10 other episodes of some shows combined.
Yeah, like
in one scene where a guy is falling out of a window.
Oh man,
I love this show. This is just such a John Woo movie.
I think the problem is that it's been such a long time since I've watched it.
See,
yeah, I'm pretty sure this is an episode that always slightly overwhelmed me, I think. So I just can't remember it too much now.
I like this episode. Every time I see this episode, I think, man, Vicious is such a cool villain. And man, we just didn't get to see enough of him in this show. We see Vicious now, and he kind of disappears for, several episodes, and we get a hint of him, and then he shows up near the end, but like more Vicious. We really could have used another episodes with him in it.
You gotta be careful though, because Vicious is a character who you have to take seriously, and because our characters aren't going to die each time they meet him until the end. It's villains lose their threat over time. The more our characters are not killed by them, the more ineffectual they appear. So having them only show up a couple of times, watching Spike freak out every time that Vicious shows up
Or gets mentioned.
Yeah, and so that when it finally gets to the point where you're like, oh, these guys are just going to kill each other until one of them are either both of them or one of them is dead in the very last episode. Their relationship has a very good growth over time, even if it is only over the course of 4 episodes or whatever.
Yeah. The reason why I seem to be a step ahead of everyone here is that I actually watched this show 2 years ago, like really intensely, because I wrote a paper about it.
Ooh, cool.
So one thing I ended up realizing after watching the falling out of the stained glass window scene like 6 times, just on loop, is that the memories are color-coded. Like, there is, like, if you, like, it's all shuffled up, but, like, the sepia-toned ones are definitely happening before the blue-toned images in that scene.
Oh, that's cool. So it's kind of like how he has 2 eyes, one that sees the past and one that sees the future?
Kinda.
You lost me.
Okay, next was Sympathy for the Devil, my favorite Stones tune.
Yeah. Creepy little boy villain. Really awesome how we finally start finding out what's gone on in the past in the Cowboy Bebop universe. I always really, really like the whole gate technology. The fact that there is no such thing as actual, hyperdrive or whatever, but he can slingshot ships from one gate to another.
Yeah.
And then seeing, what happened to the Earth, how it blew up the moon. That was really cool.
And something, like, again, this is a case where Spike just gets a burr in his butt and decides to go after this guy. For no other reason. And this happens a few times over the course of the series. And the pattern you notice is that every time he does it, he's going after a character who's not fully in sync with time or his body. So we have a kid who's actually 80. And then in Piero LeFou, you have a full-grown man who's kind of an 8-year-old mentally.
Whoa, I never thought about it that way, but they are kind of...
And then Spike himself is stuck 3 years ago in a lot of ways.
Huh. That's interesting.
It is an interesting observation. I'd never really noticed that.
See, I watched it 6 times over a strike.
So what's Cowboy Andy?
Cowboy Andy is exactly like him. Like, the attitude is the same.
So he doesn't like Pierre LeFou because he's a kid in a man's body. He doesn't like this guy because he's an old man in a kid's body, and he didn't like Andy because he's himself.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because Spike does not like himself, which is why he does so much to get himself killed. Spike is looking to die.
Well, I think we just had a Zen moment there. So Cowboy Bebop, in a sense, is Spike's long, drawn-out death wish.
Yep.
Which really makes it... Which I didn't quite get till I watched the movie. I know I'm jumping ahead here with the movie, but as soon as I saw the movie, like, yeah, he really does have a death wish. He keeps going right into the heart of darkness, and every single time going, time to die, here we go.
Yeah, and even then, the villain of the movie is a guy who isn't sure, is a guy who's sort of a direct foil to Spike in that he's not entirely sure if he's alive or dead, and the event that triggered it happened 3 years ago. Of course, getting ahead to the movie, that was all a dream anyhow.
Episode 7, Heavy Metal Queen. I actually really like this episode.
Trucker movie, man. In space.
Hell yeah.
I just love Spike jumping from the swordfish to the truck, covering up his ears, plugging his nostrils, holding his breath, as if that would actually work.
Actually, holding your breath makes it worse.
Yeah, wouldn't it broil your insides or freeze you to death in half a second? I know it's neat for action movie sake, but come on, really?
Well, the thing is that the pressure difference between your body and outside causes a lot of the air to try and force its way out. So you don't actually freeze because space isn't cold. There needs to be matter in an area for it to actually have temperature.
Right.
So if you ever get sucked out of an airlock, Jeff, breathe out.
For about half a second.
Yeah, just breathe out. That way your lungs aren't, the pressure in your lungs is much lower, is closer to the pressure.
And then when I breathe back in and breathe in nothing, then I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hopefully something with an infinite improbability drive will just be swinging by.
Cool.
This is
the moral of this story is don't get sucked out of an airlock.
Yeah.
Is BT the first other bounty hunter we really meet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I guess there was sort of like the nebbish Woody Allen guy in, no, he
That's the villain.
He was a villain.
Yeah, he's the villain of this
there were a couple other bounty hunters looking for that dude in that episode, but BT is kind of the first real bounty hunter that we met. Okay. Well, now we're at Walter Venus.
I think I did already, though. I basically said what I wanted to say about how I really liked how we saw that Spike, like they weren't bad people. Like they saw that, okay, this guy, he's got this plant, but it's because he's trying to help restore his sister's sight. So there was the conflict there for them about, okay, well, we can either get the bounty and help ourselves and completely screw these people over, or we can just let it go and screw ourselves over and not be able to eat.
Yeah.
I like that conflict that they had.
And I like when Spike is actually operated in sort of a mentor mode. It's a surprisingly mature place for him to be. And I really, really like when he explains his philosophy of kung fu,
which is he's quoting Bruce Lee the entire time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's classy.
It's classy.
By the way, going back to the first episode for a second, my favorite fight in the entire series is in the first episode where he's wearing the poncho.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the coolest goddamn fight ever, where they're just kicking over tables and stuff. Oh, great.
Yeah, the poncho is pretty cool.
That was a good fight, but if we're talking about the series, yeah, it was one of the best fights. The best fight overall was actually in the movie when he's fighting that psychopath on the train.
This is true.
That is true. It was so good, Naruto had to steal it.
Yes, they did.
All right.
Neji is Spike Spiegel. Who knew?
Yep. Jammin' with Edward. Episode 9.
I love Jammin' with Edward. Such a good episode. I loved seeing the primitive graffiti all over Earth's surface. And then when we learned that it's a satellite doing it itself, it's like, what? That's awesome.
Well, yeah. Well, those are Nazca lines, right?
Yeah. He was drawing Nazca lines.
Yeah, that's cool. And like, yeah, this episode is kind of War Games now that I think about it.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like a little 2001 Little War Games.
Yeah. It's actually probably one of the closest the show actually gets to straight up science fiction.
Pretty much. This one and Brain Scratch, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved how in this episode, how once we finally meet who Ed is.
Oh, like the Legend of Ed, the gay alien basketball player.
Yes.
Yeah, all the different theories. But then at the very end, they can't get Ed to leave. Like, Ed gets on that ship and goes with them despite what they all want.
I hate women, kids, and pets.
Why are they all on this boat? Yeah, and then we get episode 10, which is the first real Jet episode, as he sort of has to confront his ex-girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. And that was a good noir-y sort of episode.
Well, all Jet's episodes are kind of noir.
Well, yeah. Well, Jet's kind of noir. He's an ex-cop, right?
Yeah, he's the ex-cop turned PI after the accident that took his or the attack that took his arm. And the chase scene at the end where Jet's finally going after his ex's new squeeze for his justified wrongdoings in a lot of ways. And the chase is playing out to this wonderful bit of music. Like, it's just guitars and vocals. And it immediately the conflict stops being about, is he going to catch him? And becomes, what's Jet going to do?
Because out of all of the characters, Jet's the one with the most, he's the most centered. He's the most put together. I mean, he has his arm, he literally has rebuilt himself. And so when you find him finally losing that center and losing that cool, it's really interesting to see.
I enjoy the Jet episodes just because, like I said, it's kind of a noir detective episode. And you're right, that final chase when he's chasing down his girlfriend. The only thing I didn't like about this episode was his girlfriend. Like, wait. You broke up with him because life was too easy and too good. Because you were afraid that you wouldn't ever be able to screw up. Excuse me? What's the problem here? And her complaint was, I wanted to make my own. I want to make my own decisions, even if they were horrible mistakes. I'm like, no, if they were horrible mistakes, you wouldn't want to make them.
Yeah, how did that work out for you?
Yeah, here's your horrible mistake. How you feeling about that move now?
So, Toys in the Attic, which is
Awesome episode. Not a good. It's not Cowboy Bebop, but it's an awesome whatever the hell it is.
You know what? It's a pretty awesome Alien 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I mentioned it earlier. I just love when Spike opens the fridge and sees what that rock lobster's turned into.
No.
During all this chaos, he's hunting for the alien. And he goes, "Wait a minute, that rock lobster! I completely forgot about the damn thing. Wonder what it's like now." And he just stops hunting for the alien, opens the holy crap, goes and chucking that thing out of the fridge and all.
Well, remember when he tried to light a cigarette with a flamethrower? Like, there is so much well-designed visual humor in this series. And it's little things like Spike's face after failing to light a cigarette with a flamethrower.
I also, I really like Ed's little next episode recap.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like,
And so
then
they all died. And the episode...
Next time, Cowgirl Edward! Woo!
Well, and the next episode bits on the show are so great. They're just complete non sequiturs. Like, they let Ein do one, they let the three old guys do one, and it's never about the next episode.
Yeah.
Except for episode 24, which just had silence and raindrops. So good.
A little creepy.
Yeah, Jupiter Jazz.
I think we talked about that one earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we should probably just skip that.
Okay, Bohemian Rhapsody, in which someone's blowing up gates, and it's all this grand scheme set up by a guy who's now completely mentally incompetent.
And I totally don't remember this episode.
No, this is the one where they find him on that stoner colony that's exactly like the space colony from Neuromancer.
Or San Francisco.
And all the while, like, as they've been searching, all the while they find out that Ed's been playing one game of chess with him over the entire time.
Yeah, he's the old fogey who set everything into motion all those years ago, and now he's, can't remember his own name, much less what he did 50 years ago. But he can still play a hell of a game of chess. Then Ed beats him, and he dies. Moving on to My Funny Valentine.
When we learned how it was that Faye got all that debt, and she got totally screwed over by that guy, I was like, whoa, I see exactly why you do not trust anybody.
That was a kind of a rough episode for Faye. Because, Faye, when she first woke up, when she first, reemerged into this world, she was a trusting, nice, well-rounded girl. Even if she didn't have memories of her past, she wasn't, the cynical, evil, nasty
Faye that
woman.
we know.
Faye that we know. Then you find out what happened to her, and you're like, oh, that's the reason she is how she is.
Yeah,
Then, of course, as soon as she finds the guy back after he's got a fat injection, which still, irks me out to this day. It's just nasty. She doesn't, start grabbing the guy and beating the crap out of him like she should. She starts asking those questions. Who am I? Tell me something. Anything. You have to know something. And he's like, no, I really don't. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt so bad for Faye. I was like, you got screwed.
All that work to get, she's still working to get her past back. And that makes that, a few episodes down the line when she finally does start learning things about her past, that much more of a sting. Like, but she's been working so hard to find this out.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it doesn't do anything. Anything that might have helped would have helped 20 years ago, but now it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, all she's got in the world is a huge debt that's not even all hers.
It's mostly not hers, in fact.
Yeah.
It all belongs to that asswipe.
Exactly. Just like it was really good for the character development for Faye, that episode. I'd really like to see how she got the way she was and what she was like a little bit before.
And we had a cameo appearance by Lupin the Third's car.
Really?
Yeah,
I
like
missed that.
when she's running, like when she makes it as she tries to escape and makes it to the highway. The little Fiat 500 just goes right past her.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to watch this now. That's cool. Black Dog Serenade.
Con
Another Jet
Air.
episode. Another episode where Jet, just the people he hangs around with, total douchebag. Seriously, he I can see how he ended up on the Bebop. Let's just find the dumbest people I can find and hang out with them. Because apparently if I hang out with anyone with half a brain, they're going to stab me in the back.
Oh, this was like classic Dashiell Hammett hard-boiled noir movie. Like, especially the flashbacks.
Oh, where he's wearing the pinstripe suit and the hat, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, wow, Jet was in the 1920s. Who knew? He's a lot older than I thought.
No, I really liked the bad guy in this one.
Or not.
Taksim Uday something. Where he...
The guy who, his former partner guy.
No, like the other guy, like the hitman who... Like the syndicate hitman who took out Jet's arm, and he was like leading the convicts on Space Air.
Con Air. Con Space Shuttle.
Yeah, Con Space Shuttle.
Yeah, but I was still surprised Jet even agreed to do that. If I had people would stab me in the back, call for help, and be like, "Your problem now, jackwads. I don't care if he is my arch enemy. I don't care." But that's Jet for you.
Then we get Mushroom Samba, which we all love.
I think we've covered enough of it.
I just want to mention that it's Yoko Kanno's favorite episode, but only for the moment where Ayn talks to the cow.
It was a good moment.
I still love Spike walking up the eternal staircase. The frog. Just
Oh man, that frog.
Stupid frog.
It didn't play, but seriously, in my mind, I was singing "Stairway to Heaven" as he's walking up the damn thing.
Well, in one of the AMV hells, they took that clip and they managed to sync the frog's mouth movements to the ooh, ooh, ooh. So good.
That's even creepier than the first time.
Yeah. All right. Speak Like a Child. We did. Wild Horses.
Oh, just going back to Speak Like a Child.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I know exactly what it's like trying to find a Betamax player.
In space?
Did you have to steal it from a flooded museum?
Sadly, no. But
that would have been more fun.
I was trying to write a report on Tucker. The guy who invented the Tucker torpedo. One of the coolest cars ever.
Yeah.
And so there's this really good movie called Tucker, the Man and His Machine, or something like that. And so I was looking all over for it. Nobody had it on, and none of the stores. This was a while ago. None of the stores had it on tape. None of them had it on DVD. And I kept running around until finally I wound up going to the library, and they have it in their. They had it in their catalog, and I was like, "Oh, great!" And so I checked it out, and it was like behind the counter when they brought it out. I was like, "What is this tiny little tape?" I said, "Oh, that's Betamax." What? What? Who uses Beta? So then I had to find somebody with a player, and long story short, I didn't. But I. Whenever I see them running around looking for Beta, there's a little personal glow to it.
Yeah.
Also, what that tech dude says is exactly right. It is a superior format.
Well, that's that's why I bet on Blu-ray to fail. Was that it was the same story you heard with Betamax. It was better but more expensive. Only one person was making it, and no one was printing porn on it. Doomed to fail as a medium. What the hell happened?
Kid Faye is really cute.
Kid Faye's cute.
She's very cute.
Of course she was cute. That made it all the more worse. Like, this wonderful life you had. Guess what? Doesn't matter.
All right.
This show is a compendium of kicking Faye when she's down.
Yeah, I think I felt, out of all the characters, I usually felt the most sympathy for Faye. I felt sympathy for the other characters too with their backstories, but Faye's just always just like, oh wow,
well,
you got...
Her theme song is called Poor Faye.
Yeah.
Like...
You knew it was bad for her when that came up.
Pierre Le Fou. which totally
No,
rips
Wild Horses.
Wild Horses, yeah. Which we kind of already talked about.
Yeah, we already talked about that one.
Space Shuttle Columbia playing catch.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. The crazy mechanic dude is
his name
one
is
of the coolest
Doohan.
characters.
Like James Doohan, Scotty from Star Trek.
Yeah.
I like at the end when they've landed back on Earth and they take a picture and Spike's just like, oh hell, what a day. They're all, woo, we did it! Spike's like, what the hell just happened? I bet hangovers weren't this bad. What the hell?
Got Pierre LeFou, which is a wonderful homage to Batman the Animated Series.
I mean, Pierre is still creepier than all hell.
Creepy as all hell.
Oh,
It's still the only animated character that made me go, holy crap, I don't ever want to meet him. He's not real. Don't care. Don't want to meet him.
when he starts like crying at the end. Oh.
Yeah, that's when it goes from, damn, that guy's a badass to, damn, that motherfucker's a creepy ass motherfucker. Goes from badass to creepy badass. That's the worst combo.
And then we've got Boogie Woogie Feng Shui, another noir episode with Jet.
Back to Jet.
And obviously being chased by the Blues Brothers.
Yeah. Hey, they could be the Nariman Daikon brothers. I don't remember a lot about this episode, except that I think this is the one where the song Wo Queen Wo Non Coin or whatever shows up, and that's one of my favorite songs from Cowboy Bebop.
Did it. Now it's in my head. Thanks, Chibi.
Sing it, Scott.
Welcome.
I'm not going to sing it. Instead, we're going to talk about, Cowboy Funk was next, but that was awesome. And then Brain Scratch, which is...
Brain Scratch.
I really like that one because it's just it's such a creepy concept to try and upload your soul. It reminds me a lot of Serial Experiments Lane.
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah. It reminds me of that, and I liked how this episode, it was Ein who saved the day. It was Ein who was able to navigate the system.
Ein is always the one who saved the day. Notice as soon as Ein got off the bloody ship, everything went to hell.
That's a good way to look at that.
You know what's interesting? Just thinking about it, after this point in the show, Faye's kind of learned everything about her character, and she's kind of been devastated by it.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting that sort of the next thing that actually happens to her is that she turns to religion.
As much as, obviously she plays it off as, no, I was just trying to get close to the guy to get the money.
Yeah.
But, she was the only one who infiltrated. Jet, being the detective, would have more undercover experience, and he'd think of that first.
Well, if we were talking about earlier how it's Spike and Jet, and even Ed to a certain extent, is trying to run away from their past. Face the exact opposite. She's trying to get back to her past, despite the fact that it makes no dang difference. She's the one character who wants to know everything she possibly can about her past. And when she finally does, everyone else's past has been haunting them, and they're trying to escape it. She finally gets to it, and it doesn't change anything about her life.
That, and technically this episode takes place after the movie, which, if it really did happen, then her character's kind of gone through some rough stuff, too. And then we've got Hard Luck Woman, wherein everyone finally leaves.
Ein leaves, and everything goes to hell.
Yep. And it's, I love how it ends, because it's just the two of them eating all the eggs. Because they don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I really like that, because it really showed how much Spike in particular had learned to accept
the women, the pets, and the
Faye's
kids.
Family. Yeah, so the fact that he always says in joke, says all the time that he doesn't want them there. Him and Jet really need them there to help ground them and make their lives a little bit more meaningful to themselves. And they just don't know what to do now that they're all gone. They just don't know how to function anymore.
So they just eat the eggs.
Yeah.
But none of them die like in Cool Hand Luke.
At least not yet.
Yeah. Deaths are coming.
They're coming right now.
In the Real Folk Blues.
Such a good way to go out.
I can't, it's killing me now that, what's the name of the song that runs at the very end of that Real Folks Blues Part 2?
Blue?
Blue, thank you. This entire show is loaded with one of the best soundtracks of any anime show ever made. And Blue, right at the end, very best one I thought was Blue, just because it makes you stop and stare.
Yeah.
It's one of at the very end of Real Float Blues Part 2. You can't ever watch it the same way again. The first time you watch it, you're just kind of dumbfounded. You're just kind of enthralled into it. You can't look away from it, but you don't like what you see anyway. It's one of those episodes you watch it the first time, and the second time isn't anywhere close to the first time.
Yep. And this is the episode where, Spike's just been circling around, looking for a chance, kind of looking for an excuse to die. And as much as he says that, he doesn't go after Vicious much. Like, Vicious is the one person guaranteed to kill him, but he doesn't go after him. Because he knows Julia's out there, and that's his one lifeline. And the second Julia's dead, he walks right into the bill. Like, he walks right up to the front door, kicks ass to the top, and gets to Vicious, and all he can say is, "She's dead."
Well, I only had one reason to live. It's gone now. Let's dance.
I always found the whole story with Julia to be just really sad for Spike. I was like, because he spent all that time wondering what happened to her, and then to find her only to have her die right in front of him. That's pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
It's another compendium of Cowboy Bebop. You finally find what you're looking for, and then it is not good or anywhere near as good as you were hoping. I'm looking for my past. I found it. Doesn't change anything. I'm looking for solace in my life. I found it and doesn't change anything. I'm looking for my ex-girlfriend and trying to avoid death. I find her. She dies. I go right into the jaws of death.
How would you describe Ed and Nine, though? Because they sort of we can't really expect that Ed's father is going to be a good father all of a sudden, but she chooses to stay with him and Ein stays with her.
Well, sure, but they're all innocent, pure, and adorable.
Which is why they can't see the last two episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop is kind of all about what's important about the journey isn't the destination. It's the steps you take along the way, but I think that if there wasn't this much of a conclusion to the story, all the episodes in between wouldn't take on sort of the impact that they do, because it when you end with sort of this, again, I'm just going to say apocalyptically, because we set it up so that there's Spike and Jet and Faye and Ed and Ein, and they go around having fun, and that's the show. And then at the end, there's no Faye, there's no Ein, there's no Ed. Spike dies, and Jet's just kind of off on his own now.
And his ship's busted, too.
And the ship's busted. And so, what that makes you do is it makes you look back and say, all of these episodes, all of these steps along the way, that's all I'm ever going to have with these characters. It's sort of, with these characters, they're all sort of chasing after their memories, or chasing after some point where everything hadn't gone to shit. They're trying to return to this point where they think they had everything together and they could actually be happy there. Well, they never realize what we as viewers realize is that when they're together, that's the only time they're ever going to be happy. And once they split apart, there is no more joy. And if they were smarter characters, or if they were better characters, or if they were less human characters, they would have enjoyed the time they spent with each other more.
Do you know which scene I think affected me the most during the Real Folk Blues was when Faye held the gun up to Spike. Was that during this episode?
Yep. Or it was the last beat of part one, I think.
Yeah. That just...
It's the end of the second act of part two. Yeah.
Just because, when she held the gun up to him, just you know what, this is the closest that those two can ever get towards admitting that they care about anybody. Neither one of them are capable of doing it, and she holds a gun up to him because she realized she doesn't want him to go and get himself killed, which is what she knows is going to happen.
If anyone figures it out at the end, it's Faye. I kind of, my own, nice little perfect world, I kind of think that Faye hung around Jet after this. Granted, there's no evidence to support that, but it makes me feel better.
That's what I tell myself too.
Right. But
Yeah.
Faye's the one person who kind of figures it out at the end. It's like, wait a minute. My entire life is gone. This is the only life I got. And you know what? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't exactly suck. And then she finally, figures out that, okay, this is the best life I got. I better make a deal with it. And then it starts falling apart. So at least she tries to hold it together. She fails miserably, but at least she gives it a shot. Whereas Jet just kind of lets, hey, Spike, do whatever you got to do, man. And he full well knows exactly what's going to happen.
Well, he sits back and he tells them the Hemingway story.
Snows
of Kilimanjaro.
Cool. Yeah,
and
that's
it's
really
like,
helpful this time.
Well, no, he says, you know what? Men are stupid. We spend all our time thinking about what could have been. And so maybe you should go do something about that.
Yeah, but he knows full well exactly what's going to happen if he goes do something about that.
And to him, that's better than spending your whole life thinking about what could have been. Because that's sort of where Jet was stuck at the start of the show. And he was stuck, and his whole arc was confronting those dangling threads of his old life. Like, figure out why his ex left him. Dealing with what, that last case he didn't quite close. And then, Spike just goes out with the bang.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, the best one-liner in anime history. Bang. Any anime fan, you can walk up and go, bang. They know what that means.
Yeah, it was so sad. Like, this is, like, out of all the shows I've seen, this one's up on my list for shows that were able to yank my emotions around. Like, I'd be, laughing hysterically during some episodes and scenes, and then, really upset during, the ones where, they're dying and stuff. And then other times just absolutely furious at how stupid they were. I don't usually get that many mixed emotions throughout a series, especially one this short.
And I just say I loved when Futurama, where the hell did that come from? When Toonami signed off for the last time, and they ended their, Saturday night run for a little while. They're shutting down the ship, they're running away, and Tom, flies off in the distance, and you just hear him say as he's going, bang.
Oh, man.
And I was like, oh, that's just a little, exclamation point at the end. Thank you.
Oh, man. Classic Toonami was classy. Then he came back to Tom the Tank Engine.
Well, actually, that was Tom the Tank Engine who did that. That was
it?
That was, right at the end when Tom the Tank Engine with the stupid face, and he looks like an idiot, but he transforms into a jet mode and flies off into the sunset, and then the screen goes black, and you just hear Tom say, he's like, you know what?
That's nice.
You took the dumbest incarnation of Tom and made him pretty cool with that last line. All right, well done.
That said, when they made the switch from Fat Tom to Skinny Tom, that was really good.
Yeah. Nostalgia.
Now that we've sort of gone through all the episodes, I just want to mention, we've talked about all the characters but one, I think. The soundtrack. Because
I mentioned the soundtrack.
Well,
best soundtrack of any anime.
We've danced around it, but this soundtrack was amazing. You had two different teams, musicians from everywhere. They produced 8 albums worth of work for one show.
And Yoko Kanno with her foot on the gas.
Yep. Now, I'm more of a fan of the Escaflowne soundtrack, but no, this is fantastic music.
It's I can't name a song on it that I don't like.
And my always argument is it Tank or is it Blue at the end? Which is the best? The opening sequence Tank or is it Blue? Everything else in between is great, but
okay. Here's my reason. Here's my argument for why Tank is the best song on the soundtrack, and I'm going to lay it out for you.
I lean towards Blue, but I wouldn't argue against Tank.
Okay. Here's the thing: is you remember not the full trailer, but the teaser for the Cowboy Bebop movie, where it was just it was completely silent. They didn't really they just started flashing bits of Spike's flashback from the beginning with the roses in the puddle. And on the screen it just flashes up, can you hear it? Can you hear the rhapsody of criminals? And then you hear the bass bit, the bass lick from Tank. And then all that comes on is Koichi Yamadera saying, this summer's gonna be a hot one. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-bop. And I'm like, that got me so psyched. It was the most, like, this amped me up for a movie so much. And here's the real kicker. I had already seen the movie. I was flipping through DVD extras and was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And I'm like, wait, I just saw the movie.
But oh my god, I can't wait to see this movie I just saw 10 minutes ago. Oh.
And speaking of the movie, let's speak about the movie.
So beautiful. Like, just looking. It's amazing.
But he beats my score on Sparky Doggy. Nobody beats my score. See, I can't do the Australian accent that guy did, though. Sparky Doggy. Where you got, of course, he keeps on playing the game when Faye comes up to him. That's the thing I never get. Say, hold on. Let me finish this game. Wait a minute. Faye Valentine just walks up to you, hits on you, and you want to keep playing the game?
Something's wrong with this guy.
Yeah. Of course, then he hacks his game with his power glove and he blows it up, so.
The movie is just really tightly plotted, really fast-paced, fun. All the dialogue exchanges are great. All the characters just are in their groove, doing their thing, and it all feels right.
Was it Vincent, his name?
Yeah, Vincent.
Vincent, he didn't quite get to vicious level, but he was a pretty, good villain. He was just, you knew something was really wrong with this guy, and you got his whole story about what he's been turned into, and that, whole is he alive or dead thing, and even he's not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's they really did really good villains in this show. Even if they're comical villains or they really are terrifying villains, there's a lot of good villains.
Mm-hmm. Plus, with this movie, I get to say that Spike Spiegel's met Commander Shepard.
Yep, because we all know Fem Shep is the real Shep.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, this movie's just great. We haven't talked about the dub cast, but those guys.
Oh man! All right, so Cowboy Bebop is there's always been the classical argument dub versus sub. And there's a purist who say that we should only consume it in its own sort of format with the original voice actors because that's the original creative intent. And there's other people who say that I want to watch it dubbed because that's the language that I speak, and I want to be able to watch the actual show instead of just looking at the subtitles. And the way that I've always looked at the argument is what works best in the context of the show. And so something like Hellsing, everybody should speak English because they're in England. Speaking English to Englishmen.
Yeah, and I'm torn on Hellsing simply because Crispin Freeman's awesome, but George Arakawa has the best laugh ever.
Boy, that's true. I'm not faulting you on that. But Cowboy Bebop,
English,
and not to fault the Japanese dubcast, but
and the dubcast is kind of star-studded.
Yeah. But it needs to be in English.
Yeah.
It's already an English show that just happens to be made in Japan.
Yeah. And Steve Blum, even if nobody else was cast and gave such good performances, Steve Blum is Spike Spiegel. That voice fits that character like a glove, and his performance does such a great job bringing out all these little nuances to the character.
Because Spike is entirely in nuance. Like, if you can't capture that, he's just this guy who spends a lot of time on the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
See, for me, I'm slightly odd in the way that whichever I hear first is who I will be the voices I prefer. For this goes for anything that's been subbed or dubbed. Whichever I hear it first. And in Cowboy Bebop, it happened to be I was watching the subtitles. So all the Japanese voices that I heard, in my mind, are their voices. So when I watch the ones in English, I'm like, oh, this sounds wrong every time. It can't do it. Whereas some other shows, if I've seen it in English first, I'll view it as the English one's better. So for me, it's all first come, first serve. I totally immerse myself. Like I never know actors' names or anything because I need to disassociate the voices attached to the character.
Well, I'm pretty much a dub guy. I like dubs more, but I'll admit that sometimes
you get some bad dubs.
Yeah, there are bad dubs, and sometimes an American actor just can't take over a role. There are exceptions. Crispin Freeman, as Kyon and Haruhi.
Well,
He took
Crispin
that role.
Freeman as anything, really.
Yeah, Crispin Freeman he owns whatever he takes over. But in Cowboy Bebop, I say everyone owned that role. Girl was Ed, did a great Ed.
Wendy Lee.
Wendy Lee, Faye Valentine, done. Thank
Yep.
you.
Bo Billingsley.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And which, of course, makes Outlaw Star really trippy when you start hearing Jet
Yeah.
Black commenting on what makes a man.
right. When Jet's doing the next episode preview, you're like, what am I watching now? I'm confused.
And even a lot of the side characters come out great. Like, usually in a lot of these shows, anyone who's not main cast kind of just is blah. They get up to passable, and that's about it. But
Yeah.
all the one-off villains sound good. Like I really love whoever voiced Kareem in Stray Dog Strut.
Oh, really? Julia was the major.
Yep, that was the major.
Huh.
You know what I love about everyone who's watched Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex? No one who's seen that show all the way through calls her anything but the major.
Right?
She's the major.
She's the major.
Yeah, like
She's not Motoko Kusanagi. She's the major.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got in an argument in a philosophy of film class simply because he referred to the main character of Ghost in the Shell as Kusanagi, and I'm like, no, she's the major.
Yeah, she's the major.
Right.
Like, I got notes in an essay about you only call her the major. That's her name.
If you met her in real life, you wouldn't dare call her Motoko Kusanagi. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
She's the
Well, I
major.
mean, there is something really, really poignant about Bato when he's screaming Motoko. I think at the end of the second season.
No, it's second last episode of the first.
Okay, yeah, and it's just, oh man, like when he breaks down that wall and finally you're like, oh yeah, you do love her. That's one of those moments that really, really sends chills down my spine. But the fact is that she doesn't. Is that a name sort of, especially in a fictional world, a name defines the character, and especially, well, I mean, look at Cowboy Bebop. We have when you have a character named Jet Black, they're trying to say something there.
Well, the fact that his nickname is the Black Dog, which if you know Irish myth, Irish folklore, Barghists are like this doom omen.
Yeah, or Faye Valentine. So she plays with romance, and she's kind of a trickster.
Yeah.
And so, the name should have some sort of the name definitely has a connection to the characters. And Motoko Kusanagi, that character does not have a name. I think her character has evolved beyond the sort of ideas and names, but what represents her is her station and her title. Even if she had no military service, even if she wasn't in Section 9, and in fact, Section 9 has no sort of
There's no rank structure.
Promotion, but she is
The
the
major.
major. When describing her, you don't say that she's a woman or that she's a police officer
Or that she's a cyborg.
Man. You say she's
The
the
major. This show just holds up so well, even after so long.
Story time. I think I told this on another episode of this podcast, but Cowboy Bebop remains the one and only anime series my father has ever asked about. He happened to catch the movie on Stars, and and he knows I'm into anime, of course, and he realizes this show is based off. This movie is based off a long-standing series. So he asked me, he said, "Hey, I really like this movie I saw. It's called Cowboy Bebop. Do you have the series?"
Oh wow!
To which I went, "What?" He said, "Do you have it?" I go, "Yeah, I got it. And do you mind if I borrow it?" I'm like, "No." That's the first time this has ever happened. I borrowed it. He liked it. I asked him what he thought of the series. He goes, He goes, "I like the movie better. Spike lives."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, good point.
Well, the thing I think I like most about the movie, and I may have mentioned this earlier, is that the three old guys are really the heroes of the piece. They're the only ones who can operate these 20th century planes. Saving the day.
Yeah.
They'll say it's Ein. As soon as Ein leaves that ship, everything goes to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa! Wait. What? What? No. Sorry. Sorry, I've been looking up voice actors, and Cowboy Andy's Darren Norris. What? He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Do you guys watch Veronica Mars?
No.
No.
Oh, that's such a shame. It's a really good show, and he plays it, and he plays a really bad attorney named Cliff. Like he's the first person to admit, I'm a terrible attorney. You should probably seek better legal counsel. I'm and he's just super sarcastic. He has that really low voice. Oh man, and he was. Oh, that makes me happy. And he voices Knockout on Transformers Prime. Have you guys watched Transformers Prime yet?
No.
Oh, it's really good. He voices a Decepticon named Knockout, who's a robot that transforms into cars that has a fetish for cars. Like he hits on cars. He's really messed up. So, not to change the whole.
It's okay.
The conversation.
Now you've got me looking up, and Steve Blum also pops up showing that he does have some versatility as the guy in the weapon store talking about Spike about nunchucks with Spike.
Oh, nice!
Like he's doing his surfer voice, which he used so much in Great Teacher Onizuka.
I guess my final thoughts about Cowboy Bebop is that Cowboy Bebop is sort of the thing that sums it up for me is something I read online once, and I don't know if it was in an article or in a thread or something, but basically somebody said Cowboy Bebop is the worst thing that ever happened to anime because after you watch it, the rest of cartoons just don't hold up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of true. There's just a level of storytelling and craftsmanship and a feeling and a style, a quality of writing that is very, very rare in any sort of television storytelling, and especially in anime. That you know how like we have Batman the Animated Series,
Yeah.
and there's no such thing as a bad episode of Batman the Animated Series. Some of them aren't the best, but they're all good, and some of them are classic in the same sense that To Kill a Mockingbird is classic. Like these are touchstones of the heights of people and their creativity, and they define something about the medium in which they're ascribed. And I think that Cowboy Bebop is that to anime. It's just one of the best, and to watch it is just sort of be disappointed by everything that follows because they're not going to hold up.
Now, the show had, in one of the first bumpers of the show, it says something along the lines of Cowboy Bebop, the show that will change the rules of animation. And I'll be damned if they weren't telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They had the balls to say it, and guess what? They were right.
All right. Your final thoughts, Lindsay?
Best animated show ever for me. It's my favorite one. I've just always I've been amazed with it. It was the first time I'd watched it. I think it was the first anime I'd watched, actually.
See, a lot of people try and get people in anime by showing them Cowboy Bebop. That is a disservice.
Yeah, no, see, the funny thing for me is that the friend of mine who introduced me to it, he doesn't really watch any other anime. He just told me about this good show he'd seen an episode of, so we watched them all together. And I loved it. I was just so blown away by everything and the music. And I'm not big on music. So for me to go, wow, I like the music to this show, that always stuck out to me because I don't notice it in most shows. I ignore it.
And Jen?
Yeah.
F?
I'd like to say that what you said is true. A lot of people like to use Cowboy Bebop as the recommendation. Man, if you want to get into anime, watch this. That's not a good idea. One, because it's not like any other anime. And two, because you don't want to start them out with one of the best, because it all goes downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a gateway anime. It's a great show, and any anime fan should be watching it. And even non-anime fans will like it, but don't try and make this a gateway drug because it will not work.
Yeah, the sales pitch isn't. It's all going to be like this.
Right.
The sales pitch is this is unique and it's wonderful.
Yeah. I don't care whether you like animation or not. I don't care whether you like anime, animation, or any of that genre. watch this, you'll enjoy it.
Right. Going back to Firefly, I think Firefly is a bad way to get somebody into science fiction because nothing's like Firefly.
Yeah. It's a bad way to get anyone into Joss Whedon, too.
Oh, jeez.
Because you find out that, you know what, you give him a long enough time, he does start to miss a few.
Breaks his toys.
I like how both of those shows, both Cowboy Bebop and Firefly, they're both so unique to their genres, but yet at the same time, they have a lot of similarities. Like the whole, not just the space cowboy thing. Like the way that Spike, I always saw a lot of similarities between Spike and Malcolm in some ways. I'd always liked that with those two shows. That's why they're two of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So, my final thoughts, and I'm gonna be rambly and take a long time to come around to a point. But this show is called Cowboy Bebop, and that has nothing to do with the soundtrack. Because, you see, Bebop Jazz was about a bunch of guys who couldn't record because of a musician strike, just hanging out and deciding that the way the rules of music worked wasn't good enough for them. So they sat down and just started playing and coming up with all these new variations and improvisations on very old songs. Like, there's a decent percentage of Charlie Parker tunes that are just the chord progressions from I've Got Rhythm being played 100 different ways. And Cowboy Bebop, the TV series, was about a bunch of creative people at Sunrise being told they could do whatever they want as long as there were spaceships in it. So they created this series where every episode was them just riffing on a genre, on a movie, on a theme, in very new, unique ways. And that kind of creativity doesn't come along that well. Like, even the director's next series, Samurai Champloo, had very similar principles in its creation, and lightning didn't quite strike twice on that. Cowboy Bebop is very special for art, not just as animation. And I love it.
Very well said. Very well said.
I kind of stole a lot of that from that paper, though.
That's fine, but those are still your thoughts.
You
That's
plagiarized yourself.
Yeah, you just stole from yourself. Well done, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that was kind of a prepared statement.
But really, that they're given carte blanche.
Yeah, Bandai was like, we want to sell some spaceship toys. Just give us something with spaceships in it. And at this point, Watanabe had been, he helmed Macross Plus, which was good for them, and a few other, some other, they knew his crew and they thought they would work.
Yeah.
Like, they trusted these guys. And it's very telling that this team immediately started their own studio after this was done.
Yeah. Actually, that's interesting because that's kind of the same thing that happened with Macross Plus. He had the story already existing about test pilots and when the studio said, we just want to make a new Macross thing, he said, well, I can make this Macross. I said, sure. So Watanabe is really good at leveraging some creative control for a lot more control,
And it's sort of sad he hasn't really done a lot since.
No.
He's been supervising storyboards, basically. It's good that he's working, but I'm just sort of sad he hasn't come out and created anything since, that one bit of Genius Party.
Mm-hmm.
Still, though, would you like to be him? And whatever his next project is, you got to top Bebop, man.
Maybe that's why he's just doing storyboards now.
Hey, I made my life's work already. It's out there. Everyone can enjoy it. I'm not going to try and top it because I can't do it.
He wasn't the guy that did XL Saga, was he?
No. That was
Okay.
Shinichi.
Oh, no, but Nabe-shin is based off of him.
No, it's it's a guy, it's an anime director with a very similar name. It's Shinichi Watanabe.
Oh.
Who does have an afro. He does have a big afro. Alright, I think we can close this up without mentioning the terrible idea of an American live-action version of this.
Please let's not talk about that.
Well, Keanu Reeves is going to make it, whether you guys like it or not.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey, I'm not going to say it's going to be great. I'm just saying, hey, Keanu Reeves is a fan of anime. He's a big fan of Cowboy Bebop. He worked his tail off to get permission from the right people to do this. Let's see what he can come up with. Will it be as good as the anime series? Hell no. Will it be bad? We'll find out.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, just going off of the spaceship angle, Swordfish 2 is possibly one of the coolest spaceships ever.
I know. It is so cool.
So cool.
Why is it every model of that damn ship costs a friggin' fortune?
Because they can get it from you.
Because they can get it from you.
The only decent-sized swordfish model I've found costs almost $100.
Until next time, when we're going to talk about... I don't know yet. But until then, see you, Space Cowboy.
Bang.
You're
Damn,
going to carry that weight.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Don't bring your troubles to me.
I Thought They Smelled Bad on the Outside is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike license, version 3.0 international. Check our website at sbopodcast.blogspot.com for contact information.
Hey. You guys still have time to talk about one more thing?
Sure. Recording's still
I
running.
want to do my, what I geeked on this week.
Okay, do it.
All right. I don't care if it's recording or anything.
It is going, by the way.
Oh, cool. All right. So, remember the last time I was on and I was geeking out about Kamen Rider?
Yeah.
All right. So, first off, Forte is still really good. And, seriously, it's the Breakfast Club, but with ninja robots with spaceship for head and a moon base on the moon who fight alien monsters alongside of a Gundam robot made out of a bulldozer. So I'm just saying that if you ever wanted to see Emilio Estevez get into a Gundam made out of a caterpillar and straight up tackle a space monster and then fastball special a spaceship ninja into a flying witch, might be the right place to go. But this weekend there isn't a new episode because there's some sort of like curling match or whatever. Or no, it's a college rowing match. So
I don't think, as much as Japan obsesses about weird sports, I don't think they have a thing for curling yet.
I could see like some sort of samurai comparison where like they have like little bamboo boken things that are scrubbing the. Anyway, but I'm not done with the Kamen Riders because there's a ton of it out there. There's 40 years of Kamen Riders out there, and what I've been doing is every night I've been watching through another episode of the very first Heisei Kamen Rider series, Kamen Rider Kuga. And I just want to give this show the craziest recommendation I possibly can. You know how earlier we were talking. I kind of brought up Batman the Animated Series as something that sort of transcends and defines.
Yeah,
this is kind of one of those things. It's kind of one of those. I don't know how this got made. I don't know how it's maintaining its quality, but I don't think any other shows are going to hold up quite to its caliber. All right, so here's the setup of Kamen Rider Kuga. Kamen Rider itself, it was sort of in the same position that Doctor Who was when Doctor Who got rebooted. They had sort of a couple. The show had gone really strong during the late 60s, early 70s, and then it kind of faltered in the 80s. They had one show kind of late 90s or middle 90s. That's what came over as Masked Rider over here, and then nothing. Just nothing. They had a couple movies, but the brand for all intents and purposes was dead. And so in 2000, they just, I think it's Bandai decided to just give it one last shot, and so they brought this team together of very talented writers and directors, and they gave them an incredibly low budget because they didn't want to lose any money off of this, and they said, we want to have our superhero, and we're going to keep the production costs low in case this doesn't work. His superpower, by the way, is that he's going to change form a lot, and so that we can just have a bunch of repaints of the character and sell those as different characters. So you got to work with that. And then they let him go. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Because operating out of these very bizarre, limited sort of constraints, they're crafting an incredibly mature, incredibly deep, very well-written storyline. The broad plot overview is that during an archaeological dig, an ancient evil is unleashed, and a happy-go-lucky world traveler, Godai Yusuke, comes across a belt belonging to an ancient warrior called Kuga. And the monsters that have been released, the Grongi, had once before destroyed an entire civilization before being defeated and sealed away by the Kuga. And now he bears the responsibility. And so, he transforms, fights a monster of the week. It's Power Rangers.
Yeah.
But the way that it approaches it, and the themes of personal growth and change, the terror involved with Kuga, there's something inherently scary every time he gets a new form. Because, first off, he doesn't know what's going on. In one episode, he gets his green form, which allows him to turn a gun into this crossbow, and his senses become incredibly heightened. The first time he has it, it almost gives him a stroke, and he collapses to the ground because there's just too much information flooding his system, and he doesn't know what to do with it. He's talking with he's working with the police, and at first they think he's one of the monsters, and but as he's been working with them, they send him in for regular checkups, and his DNA is changing, his body's changing, and they don't know what's actually going to happen. In one scene, later on in the series, he legitimately loses control of himself and beats a monster to the point that you actually start feeling bad for this child murdering monster as it just pathetically runs away. And in the end, when he finally kills it, you get flashes that maybe Kuga is more dangerous than the monster he said he's fighting. But to say that, I need to explain to you just how terrifying the monsters are and why I can't believe this show. Because the characters are very well written. There's fantastic policemen who are investigating this thing, but there's these archaeologists. Everybody behaves very, very intelligently, very humanly to this extreme situation. But oh my God, the Grongi are terrifying because sure they're made out of foam rubber, and you can tell that the budget shows. But I think that the sum death toll of the series within 10 episodes is easily 1,000 civilians and police officers. In every episode, see, the Grongi's MO is that they're out to murder human beings. It's a game to them. And each Grongi has its own methodology towards murder. And it's terrifying. There's this one where there's a bee, and a bee monster flies overhead, and then every 15 minutes it grows a little stinger that it can shoot like a sniper. And so but you don't see the bee shooting. What you see are people like walking to their cars or carrying their groceries or playing tennis, and then there's a little puff of smoke down at their feet as the stinger enters into the ground, and then they collapse dead instantly because the bee shoots its stinger straight through their bodies, top down, just out of nowhere. Every 15 minutes, you're treated to a montage of death. In one, a shark monster literally eats an entire boat of passengers, and you see him start biting into people, the blood running down his chin. This is children in the morning. On Sunday morning, children would wake up and watch this. You should answer that call.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find it. Forgot you guys could actually hear that.
It's all right. But numerous times I've been watching the show, and I've been literally terrified of what's happening, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because there's something about it that is inherently silly. But when you see this one monster really likes backing up trucks for some reason, like he likes hopping in and hearing the little boop, 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 boop. And it's like, oh, that's funny. Until there's 3 terrified women that he corners in a blind alley, and then he backs the car up against a wall, and you see them pinned against. There's like a little backup video feed, and there's just this one quick shot of them pinned and terrified, and then he just smiles, jams his foot down, jams his foot down onto the gas, and then you cut to the wheel. The wheel starts spinning, and then he releases the brakes. You see it just kind of go backwards just a little bit, and then it cuts away. And you're like, "Holy shit! He just killed those people horribly." Like, this show is amazing. So,
Power Rangers.
I'd check it out.
All right.
I'm gonna just say.
Thank you for that.
Good luck getting that in, Scott.
No, I'll just drop it in after the music.
You legitimately do not need to include that. I just want to tell people about this show that is just wrecking my shit.
Fair enough.